Hello and thank you very much for joining us on KTN Weekend Prime, the online edition. My name is John Alanamu. Thanks again for joining us from Nairobi and around the world on www.ktntv.ktnkenya.tv. Still getting a little used to that. Tell a friend to join us as well. Get those bundles ready for the most comprehensive news bulletin coming out of the country. Let's get started with the news this evening. And the government says it is waiting to receive the High Court ruling on the abolition of the Constituency Development Fund, the CDF Act, before making any move. Devolution Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru says the government will wait for the interpretation of Friday's court ruling and will be handling the matter delicately since there was a likelihood of some Kenyans challenging the ruling. But even as Waiguru spoke in Kerugoya, MPs and Kenyans across the country have weighed in on the matter that touches on practically every corner of this nation. KTN Samogina has more.
He is the brainchild behind the Constituency Development Fund. The Nyandarua senator, then Ol-Kalou MP, introduced CDF to address poverty at the grassroots level by dedicating 2.5% of government ordinary revenue to the fund. But the one-time champion of the fund wants CDF abolished, saying it failed in its primary purpose of shepherding developments as envisaged. Taking unpopular stance, the senator backed the High Court decision that declared the newly amended CDF Act 2013 unconstitutional. Karue states that CDF was crafted with the old constitution in mind, but says even in the new dispensation, CDF has not really served its purpose of dealing with issues that sometimes led to fundraisers and MPs then were not able to address.
What is important for me is for us to relook at the CDF Act, be able to look at it vis-a-vis the Constitution. How can we be able to amend that Act so that we do not lose the benefits of a nicely crafted legislation that ensures that more resources goes to development as opposed to recurrent expenditure.
The High Court decision throwing out the new CDF Act, which was introduced to change the CDF Act of 2003 to bring it in line with the new constitution, is already causing a stir. Members of the public, parliamentarians and governors are already reacting on the merits of the High Court ruling.
Since we are the lawmakers, we are just going to refine the law, because I cannot agree that the CDF will be taken to the county government.
I'm hoping that by Monday, when we meet as members of parliament from across bond, this issue we are going to approach it from a bipartisan approach. All members from Jubilee, from CORD and from all affiliate parties, we are going to come up with a way forward.
The CDF has been able to deal with the issues that are emerging and that are of significance and of importance to our people.
You have a devolved government. Why can't we have a CDF devolved? Let our Chumbas stay in Nairobi as they like, but let's have the CDF to wards. It can be closer to people than a person coming from Nairobi, spending mileage, spending this and that. It can be within the county and they do a lot of function.
I support, and I'm in support of all the CDF money going to the county government to be dispersed so that we can have one tier. The MPs should do their job of registration.
Despite the court giving a one-year grace period for winding down of the CDF Act, MPs are keen to salvage the fund they have been largely accused of misusing for self-preservation and political gains. Samogina, KTN.
Remember, if you're watching us, tell a friend to join us on www.ktnkenya.tv. And the reason why we are broadcasting exclusively online, of course, that February 14th switch off. And Ipsos Synovate has done a poll on the same with regard to the pulse of the nation on this switch off of those three major broadcasters. That is, of course, Citizen, KTN ourselves here, and NTV with its sister station QTV. Starting with a major question: do you own a set-top box? A set-top box, of course, allowing one to view channels on a digital signal, and that in the pie chart in red indicates just how many people in the country do not own a set-top box. 62% of those polled said no, while 38% said yes. But other questions were asked, especially who is to blame for the switch off. And this was divided into two categories: those who have set-top boxes, the 38%, and those who don't, the 62%. Let's start with those who have set-top boxes. And 53% of those who have set-top boxes blame the government. 26% blame media houses, ourselves, of course. We've been getting some bad press from those who still are on air. 2% blame the Supreme Court for its ruling on the same, and 2% blame the Chinese companies. 1% of you who were polled do not know. Let's move on to those who don't have set-top boxes. The numbers varying slightly, about 10% difference in those who blame the government. 63% blame the government, while 12%, going down from about 22% in the last slide, blame the media. That's us again. 1% blame the Supreme Court, another 1% blame Chinese companies. 17% do not know who to blame. The next one is those what is your main news source since the switch off? Again, divided between those who have set-top boxes and those who don't. Very interesting numbers that were polled here. 58% say other TV stations. There are about 40 television stations thereabouts that are broadcasting digitally, about 2 or 3 that broadcast and do news as well, and that they take 58% of that. 26% get their news off of radio. 14% on social media. This is an interesting one here. 4% more than newspapers, seeing a shift of people who get their news from social media purely. 1% on the internet, other forms of the internet, of course, and 70% other forms of news. For those who don't have set-top boxes, 73%, number one with a bullet, 73% on radio, 8% on social media, 6% other TV stations, 10% just don't get any news, and 5% get news from the newspapers, 3% others. That 10% with none is a very worrying thing. A lot of people are out in the dark with regard to that. Now, how many Kenyans are not satisfied with the alternative news sources since the switch off of those 3 channels? And let's look at those numbers from those who have set-top boxes. 74% are not satisfied with newspapers. You'd think that's a high figure, but look at the next one. 77% are not satisfied with the TV stations that are offering news. And those were the people who had got the majority of people moving to watch them. 58% from the last slides that we had seen are getting their news from alternate sources, or from alternate TV channels on the broadcasting on the digital channel, and 77% of those are not satisfied with the news that they're getting. 85% are not satisfied with radio, 79% not satisfied with social media. And how about those who don't have set-top boxes? Numbers again varying about 10 percentage points. 84% not satisfied with newspapers. 73%, similar to the other number, 4 percentage points, not satisfied with other TV stations. 85% again not satisfied with radio, same percentage, and 78% not satisfied with social media. Those are the numbers, very interesting numbers indeed, with regard to that digital migration and the shut-off of the analog signal. Still yet to be resolved. A number of meetings took place last week. Let's see what happens in coming days with regard to that. But we'll move on to other news stories. And opposition leader Raila Odinga has said he's not against digital migration, but he takes great exception to the manner in which the government is handling the process. Raila Odinga urged the government to negotiate with the 3 leading media houses on a way to make the transition from analog to digital transmission smooth for all Kenyans.
Is some things that trend all over the world. We all agree, but it must be done in an organized fashion. But you do not do it the way it is being done today in order to punish business, to punish innocent wananchi. This is not a way to do it.
If this system cared for the people, surely you should have made it possible for the people to continue enjoying seeing what they want to see and hearing the news that they want to hear.
Surely government. Is this the government for the rich or is the government for the poor? Wakati ya kupewa kura mlipewa kura na masikini ama tajiri. So fungua media, wacheni mchezo. Tangu independence mwaka 40 hakuna serikali imefunga media kwa maskini. Why are you closing the media?
Let's move to other news. Very disconcerting story coming out of Mukurweini in Nyeri County. A 53-year-old woman has been arrested there for allegedly faking a pregnancy and buying a 4-day-old baby. Fatma Paula reports.
In Mukurweini, Nyeri County, a 53-year-old woman has been arrested for allegedly buying a 4-day-old baby whom she claims to have given birth to. Virginia Wairimu had been desperate to prevent her lover from leaving her, and despite being unable to bear children of her own, she decided that the only way to save her relationship was by completing her family, a decision which forced her to fake her pregnancy, and for a moment, she had even her lover convinced.
Nambia na mimba. Tukagojea miezi ya mimba ishe, ikaisha, akasema amepata mtoto. Hata mimi nashangaa kusikia ati mtoto usio wake.
Eunice Wanjiku, the lady who allegedly sold her baby to Virginia, had just delivered her 5th born, but for her, this only meant an extra mouth to feed, so she allegedly willingly decided to sell her newborn. But their deal will go south after Virginia's neighbors pieced up the puzzle of the mysterious delivery and chose to alert the police.
Na huyo mama, huyo mtoto si wake. Baadaye tukapata kuna mama alijifungua hivi karibuni na hiyo mtoto anasemekana ni wake.
Fatma Pole, KTN.
Now, informal settlements in the country have been known to be places where people risk a lot and live with little or no access to basic amenities. But along Mbagathi Way in Nairobi slum, along Mbagathi Way in Nairobi, a slum is cropping up with its residents living at the edge of death. KTN's Timothy Otieno visited the area and now highlights the plight of these residents.
Just opposite the Kenya Defence Forces Memorial Hospital along Mbagathi Road, a small slum settlement is snuggling. The small segmented structures are conspicuous around the newly built flats in the area. It's a unit consisting of 380 iron sheet houses that is home to nearly 700 individuals. Businessman Joseph Mulata has been here for the last 6 months.
Anafanya kazi hapa na anafanya kama industrial na anatoka na mguu mpaka hapa ndio ana strong.
They say the railway authority moved them to this location because their houses were just too close to the railway tracks. Ironically, the area they have been moved to is less than 10 meters from the same tracks, and that is not the only problem.
Lakini huyu ana strong apate ya kukula. Unajua nasi hakuna kazi siku hizi. Unajua ile ukipata kidogo
Sasa tunaona tumefinyiliwa, ndio maana tumetupwa hapa hivi. You know there is not difference na hakuna tofauti na watu wako kwa kambi.
The residents here decry the living conditions, citing poor drainage and insecurity issues in the area. With power lines dangling close to their houses, the residents may literally be playing Russian roulette with their own lives.
Ukiangalia pale, imetoka hiyo wao, imelipuka mara ngapi? Mara mbili. Kwa sababu watu consumers ni wengi, wale tunakaa.
Some say they should not be living like this. They are, however, here on temporary basis before they move back to the new housing units being built by the railway farm. Kenya Railways is in the process of moving more than 9,000 households residing along Mukuru and Kibera slums to low-cost houses built at a cost of 7 billion shillings. It is believed the beneficiaries of the new houses will be charged a considerably low rent once they pay electricity and water deposit charges.
Stima ni shilingi 2,500. Mita ya maji 2,500, 5,000. Ati kwa mwaka utakuwa ukilipa ngiri moja. Hiyo ni 6,000. Whereby I cannot afford because kule tulikuwa tunalipa shilingi 1,000 na mia ngapi? Na 500 na inadishinda. I'm a jobless person. Most of the people they are jobless.
For now, they have to call this home. Timothy Otieno, KTN.
Heads of state from the East African community have directed the Council of Ministers to finalize the process of drafting the constitution for the East African Political Federation before the end of the year. The summit also expressed concern that some council decisions and protocols agreed upon in previous summits, including bills passed by the East African Legislative Assembly, had not been assented to by member states. Patrick Amimo has more.
Of the 16th East Africa Community Heads of State Summit held in Nairobi was deepening and accelerating integration towards political federation. 5 regional heads of state attended the summit, including President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the outgoing chairman. Uhuru was to hand over chairmanship to Tanzania's President Jakaya Kikwete last November, but the meeting was postponed to allow Kikwete, who had undergone prostate surgery at the Johns Hopkins Hospital in the United States, to recuperate. With Kikwete fully recovered, Uhuru was obliged to pass on the mantle. A political federation is the ultimate goal of the East Africa Community integration process. Member states have postponed deadlines for political integration several times. The first was in 2013, before it was moved to 2015. The focus now appears to be on 2016 deadline. Though formally reluctant, Uganda has made an about turn and wants the process fast-tracked. But other member states appear to be exercising caution. Tanzania, which initially championed political federation, has in the last 2 years been on the spot over alleged lack of commitment in the integration process.
As I assume the chairmanship, I look at the future of our community with a great sense of optimism. I reiterate Tanzania's commitment and readiness to do everything within our power to steer the affairs of the East African community to greater heights of success during our term of leadership.
2 proposals for the regional political federation are on the table. There is the one-tier system that includes one president and uniform policies. The other option is a 2-tier system where the federation will have a leader and share responsibility on foreign policy, defense, currency and trade policies. Domestic affairs will be handled by each member state. Experts on political federations say the agreed structure should be subjected to a referendum by citizens of the 5 member partner states. Kenya, Uganda, Burundi and Tanzania want experts to be given more time to finalize work on the political federation. A draft constitution for the federation is being finalized.
The summit directed the Council to finalize the national consultations on the model, structure, the roadmap, action plan, and report progress to the next summit.
The summit directed the Secretariat to provide partner states with a list of all protocols that have not been ratified in order to expedite ratification by 30th July 2015.
There are Council decisions and directives that have remained outstanding for many years. Delay in ratification of protocols. And noted that there are bills enacted by the East African Legislative Assembly that have remained unassented to.
The Council of Ministers was asked to harmonize the East Africa Community roaming charges, including removal of such charges for international calls originating or terminating within the region.
It is unacceptable that in many instances, calling outside our continent is much cheaper than communicating within our region. In the spirit of Eastern African integration, therefore, innovative interventions leading to substantial reduction of calling charges are overdue. The implementation of the One Area Network by Rwanda, Uganda, and Kenya is indeed an excellent beginning.
South Sudan and Somalia have been keen to join the regional bloc. However, a joint communique issued at the end of the summit indicates that the earliest time the 2 states could be admitted would be next year. Talks to have South Sudan join the community faltered after civil war broke out, pitting forces loyal to sacked Vice President Riek Machar against those supporting President Salva Kiir. The 2 signed a peace deal in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia early last week.
The parties therefore have an obligation to resolve any differences they may have that may have caused the conflict in order to allow the people of South Sudan to grow their homeland.
In November 2013, partner states signed a monetary union protocol in Kampala, Uganda, outlining a 10-year roadmap toward monetary union. The East African Community single currency is expected to be introduced by 2024. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
Now, there's only one day of the week that cases of cattle rustling and attacks on villages are hardly reported on in Samburu. On this day, friends and foe are united by the Lolkuninyani market, each of them trying to buy and sell as much as they can. Here is a story of the Samburu market for a peace that brings together 5 other communities.
It is not just an ordinary market day here in Samburu, but also, most importantly, a peaceful day. This is why, for years, cattle rustling has characterized this part of the country. The Samburu, Burji, Turkana, Borana and the Pokot communities clashing over water, pasture and supremacy too. Lives being lost and families displaced are quite a common occurrence. But the Lolkuniani livestock market has brought about a rather new and welcome twist to the conflict, uniting all the communities.
Sasa kama hakuna amani, mimi nitahusia nani hizi mbuzi? Hizi mbuzi nanunua kwa Wasamburu wenzangu. Nitahusia nani? Wanakuja kutoka all the way kutoka kwao aje wanunue mpaka hadi hapa nyumbani kwetu. So wakisema hakuna amani, barabara ya Isiolo Ngaremara, watapitia wapi waje wanunue mbuzi zangu?
Hii mambo cattle rustling imeanza kupungua ndani ya community yetu. Hii mambo highway robbery imeanza kupungua katikati ndani ya community yetu. Na development mingi imekuja kwa hii soko kwa sababu biashara imekuja.
It goes beyond enjoying the peace that comes with the unity. The communities are also making money, good money, with estimations of between 2 to 5 million shillings being exchanged here weekly. However, the communities do feel that more needs to be done to better the markets.
Hii barabara si mzuri. Hii barabara laga hii mebormoka na maji. Sasa hii lori sisi naitisha kitoka Moyale kitoka Marsabit, hatupati gari hapa. Hiyo ni shida pia, tena gharama ya gari ni juu. Tena hapa sisi nalipa juu sana kodi. Sababu mbuzi moja ni 100. Export ni 150. Sasa kitoka Nairobi sisi hii gari imekomboa 50,000. Ikirudisha na gharama hii yote sisi naumia.
Their hope now is that peace shall prevail beyond just the market day. Ian Wafula, KTN.
Former President Daniel Arap Moi has reiterated his call to the government to raise the number of teachers in all schools in Kenya. Speaking in Kabarak while attending the Moi Primary School Kabarak Prize Giving Day, Moi noted that even as parents and the society at large expect the best from children, proper balance in the number of pupils per class is lacking. He said that schools that have up to 60 pupils per class deprive children of quality education. There was a light moment when Moi gave a short narration of his school days and the lessons that he learned.
To enjoy the Christ presence. We thank God for He has. Welcome, madam.
In Africa, people don't take education to be anything. They must take it seriously. When I was a young boy, I went to school and we were learning a song which was saying, it is a long way to the barrier, it is a long way to go. It is a long way to the barrier, to the sweetest girl I know. So at that time, I thought the best girl is found in the barrier and nowhere else. But later discovered that we have the best in Africa, and therefore we must teach the things we think are good for our people.
It's been a long time since I've heard the former president sing. Let's move on to something a little more serious. Over 200 acres of vegetation at Menengai Forest in Nakuru County has been destroyed after a fire broke out this morning. The fire, said to have started from the KBC transmission site, broke out at around 10 this morning and spread fast with a forest that covers the crater. Kamcha Menza has that report.
A
At around 10 this morning, part of this forest Menengai that covers the crater was burning. Fire that razed over 200 acres of vegetation here. The Kenya Forest Service officers, county firefighters, police officers, and even area residents came together to fight the inferno. And here, branches came in handy. According to Assistant Head of Conservation Mau, Alfred Abongo, the fire started near the KBC transmission site.
This is actually a fire season, and even in the morning we were monitoring reports from Kericho. There were fire yesterday in Mount Blacket in Londiani. So it is a fire season nationally. The director has declared fire season, and even ourselves here. So the declaration means that we educate the public so that we be watchful on lighting fire or even early burning for summer preparation.
The cause of the fire, which has so far been contained, has not been established yet. No one was injured. Head of Fire Department Nakuru County, Julius Yator, has now advised KFS to dig terraces around the zone of the fire so as to prevent the embers from spreading to neighboring houses. Kamche Menza, KTN from Nakuru County.
Let's get some sports news now, and we begin with rugby, where Kenya Cup defending champions Top Fry Nakuru will head into the playoffs as the top seed. This is after knocking out KCB RFC from the top of the standings in a grueling encounter that saw the Wanyore edge out the Bankers 23-20 in Nakuru. In another encounter, Homeboys RFC completed their Kenya Cup regular season on a high after thrashing Black Blood 36-3 in an entertaining encounter at the Impala grounds.
As the final matches for the Kenya Cup regular season got underway, teams were keen on improving their ranking ahead of the playoffs. Homeboys battled Black Blood with the intentions of bettering their position on the league table. Homeboys began the match on a bright note as they bullied their way to a 3-0 lead through Harold Rubise. Moments later, Joshua Chisanga made it 10-0 before Maxwell Kangeri ensured Homeboys had a tight grip on their lead, making it 17-0. Black Blood's calls for a try remained unanswered as Lamek Kimutai made it 24-0 heading into the break. After the breather, Homeboys continued the impressive performance as Martin Lubise made matters 31-0. Despite Black Blood getting a 3-point consolation, Homeboys' Joshua Chisanga rubbed salt on the wounds as he made 5 points to lead his team to a 36-3 victory. In the match of the day, title holders Top Fry Nakuru leapfrogged KCB RFC to the top of the log after winning the crucial encounter 23-20 in a thrilling match in Nakuru. In another match, Mwamba beat Mean Machine 46-9, while Kabra Sugar ran riot with a 61-24 win over Strathmore Leos. Top Fry will now play Cabras in the playoffs while KCB takes on Strathmore Leos. Robinson Okenye, KTN Sports.
Defending Kenya Premier League champions Gor Mahia moved to the top of the league on goal difference after beating Mathare United 4-2 at City Stadium. Young star Michael Olunga stood out in the match with a brace. Western Stima silenced KCB 2-0 also at City Stadium, while Sony Sugar got the better of Ulinzi Stars at Afraha Stadium in Nakuru. Back at City Stadium, Olunga, Ali, and Abondo and Noah Abich all claimed goals in the same match as Gor Mahia overcame a resilient Mathare United. Ali Abongo opened for the title holders in a match that was in doubt earlier after FKF unbainted restraining orders against KPL from organizing and running a parallel league in the country. Noah Abich scored twice for Mathare as Abondo added 2 before Olunga completed the rout. Sony Sugar disarmed Ulinzi Stars 2-0 in Nakuru to claim maximum points, and it was Western Stima who laughed at loudest as they came over KCB 2-0. Former British and Finland champion Tapio Laukkanen led from the start to finish to win the KCB Kenya National Rally Championship season opener, the Kisumu Rally in Chemelil and Chemase today. Tapio becomes the first Finn to win a round of the Kenya National Rally Championship, KNRC, after his compatriot and legendary Johan Kankonen did it during the WRC or Safari Rally days. Jasi Chate finished in second spot with 54 seconds back, while Onkar Rai completed the podium lineup. Defending champion Baldev Chagar fought from behind in the fourth stage, where he was placed 7th to finish 4th. Manvir Baryan made history by being the first ever Kenyan to bring back a Ford Fiesta R5 to the finish ramp after the other Fiesta of Rajbir Rai rolled out. Veteran Ian Duncan in his Nissan Patrol became the first major casualty of the day, the first loop with gearbox problems. Alistair Kavanagh and Carl Tundo were the other drivers who bid the rally bye early in the day. The first round of the Safaricom Athletics Relay Series, the Kenya National Trials, took place today at the Nyayo National Stadium, with a number of athletes battling for a place in the next round of the series. In the women's 100 meters category, Mary Tanui, Helen Siombua and Eunice Kadogo proved their worth as they won the first 3 heats respectively. In the men's category, Stephen Baraza, Carl Lewis Boniface Kagai also won the 100 meters respectively, and the 4x100 meters category went to the Kenya Prisons team as they took the first position in 41.2 seconds, followed by KDF in 41.6 seconds, while KDF finished in 3rd place, beg your pardon. In the women's category, the ladies from Prisons emulated their male counterparts as they clocked 48.5 seconds, and Kasarani finished 2nd with 51.8 seconds. The next round of the series will be held on the 7th of March this year. New Aston Villa manager Tim Sherwood's reign began with a stoppage time defeat by Stoke, while Arsenal secured an important victory to go past Manchester United, who got a beating in today's English Premier League matches. And Aston Villa got a 1-2 defeat against Stoke City, this being the club's 6th straight Premier League loss. Chelsea had Nemanja Matic red-carded as the Premier League leaders were held to a draw by relegation, battling Burnley. Arsenal survived a late scare as they held on to beat Crystal Palace 1-2 and moved up to the third in the log in the Premier League. Dame Ndoye scored his 2nd Premier League goal in as many games as Hull City earned a late win over 10-man QPR, as Manchester United suffered only their 2nd Premier League defeat since November, as Jonjo Shelvey's long-range goal gave Swansea a 2-1 victory. All right, thank you very much for joining us on KTN Weekend Prime, the online audition. It's been a pleasure joining you from here in Nairobi to you around the world, joining us online at www.ktntv.com. KTN Kenya, beg your pardon, ktnkenya.tv. That one I'm going to get right soon enough. Not very used to saying that often. But please continue to join us online for more comprehensive news from your authoritative news channel. My name is John Allen Amu. Good night or good morning from wherever you are in the world.